everybody, Joy here. It's Thursday, let me see, September 19th, 2024. And I'm going to have a giveaway today, and it's going to be another fast one. I'll try to get something on this video here that's, over 2 minutes to put up on YouTube for you. But from when I put it up to noon the next day is how long this is going to be. So when you see the advertisement, the notice that Joy Bernhardt has a new video, watch it fast. And let me know fast if you want to win what I want to give you. I'll show you what it is in a minute. You probably remember I have been making with my friend Philly the S-E-W, delightful little quilts. 3 little quilts. There's a whole bunch more stuff in this book. There's great big quilts, and there's pictures that you can make and hang, and there's picture frames, and there's just lots and lots and lots of different things in here. But I'm tired of it. I don't want to make anything else in it. I almost didn't even finish this one. It was not easy. Not easy. Because you have to quilt behind the jars before you put the jars on there. But it doesn't have any batting behind it or anything. It's just a flat piece of fabric with stabilizer on the back of it. So, I mean, you can't even tell it's quilted, but there's quilting behind this jar, and behind this jar. So then you get the whole thing made, and then you have to quilt the whole thing on the batting and the backing, see? And so then you can't sew over the plastic. So I sewed around the plastic and around the plastic, and I sewed along this thread line here, and I traced around these little spools of thread, but I didn't do a lot of quilting on it. I did piano keys down here, but then I was lost. I didn't know what to do after that. So I just quit, and so I'm not real happy that it's kind of puffy here and there, but after all, it is a quilt, right? This one's puffy too. These two were easy and went quickly. This one, I think it took us 3 different days to finally get this one done. But I love them. I love them on the wall. I think they're super cute here in my quilting room. And I'm going to get on to the Scarecrow now. So I'm going to give away this book. I bought and I paid for it and I own it. And I guess that gives me the right to give it away. I tell you, I'm terrified about copyright these days, and I'll explain more about that to you in a minute. But I'm assuming, since this is mine and I own it, I'm allowed to give it away. I can't take pictures of it, and I can't copy it, and I can't give anybody pictures, and I get all of that. But surely I can give the book to someone. I hope somebody doesn't get on to me for that. So if you would like to win this book, email me. That worked out really good last time. And we'll put all the names in a hat, and Jerry will draw a name, and somebody can win this book. It's expensive. It's, does it have a price? I'm probably too embarrassed to put the price on here. It's not cheap. But I also have a lot of the things left over that go, like the buttons and the strawberries and some little pokey pins and different things that I also bought. That was over $40 to make the items in here with. And all of those things didn't go with these. I used these 3 little thingies right there. I used this and this and this, of course, for the jars. But there's a bunch of stuff left, so I'll send that to you too, whoever wins this, okay? So it's called Oh So Delightful, but you can just say, I want to win that book, that quilt book. So are you ready for the next current issue of Joy Bernhardt's life? I can't imagine that anybody would be, but I told you that I would let you follow me along making the Scarecrow Quilt. And I made over 20 clips for you. Close up. I mean, you could see it really good. And in the middle of the night, one night, after I had already processed half of those clips and edited them, and they were all ready to go. And then I had like 11 more of them to put on there. It dawned on me, I can't show them the book. I can't show them the directions in the book. I can't show them the measurements. It's not my pattern. Oh. So I thought I'll go through the clips and I'll cover up all of the parts that show the measurements and the directions. Every single clip was like totally covered up with a big white square. So I just had to forget it. I mean, oh, so long I worked on that. So I actually emailed, what's it called? Emma. It's So Emma, who wrote the book, made the book for, I guess, that Jolly lady. And I asked them if I could let people follow along. I told them some of the people had already bought the pattern and wanted me to show them how to do it. And I asked them if I could just do one leaf, and it wouldn't matter if I showed the measurements, or did they not want me to show any of it at all? What would they advise? And I haven't heard back from them. So I am super sorry I can't show you how to make the Scarecrow quilt. I don't know how Becky does it. I guess you could do it if you didn't show the measurements. But the measurements are all over the place in the book. We'll wait and see what happens, but I just want you to know I was having fun and I was really doing good and was so excited to show you all the close-ups and how I organized it all. But every little stack that I made, I put a little note on it showing the measurements of it. And so I block all that out. Well, if you block all that out, then you can't see what I did in the video. Oh, I wish the world wasn't so crazy. And then I thought, well, just because I show you, I mean, for instance, like if I just showed you how to do this, and I probably did. I don't remember how much of this book we showed you. But, you know, just if I showed you, there's thread everywhere, of course, this one project, it wouldn't mean I gave you the whole book, or that you could make everything in the book, or that you didn't have to buy the stuff to make it with. I don't know. But I just want to apologize. I told you I would, and I did. And I would love to show it to you. I mean, if they write back and say, oh, go ahead and do the first leaf, we won't care. I'll go ahead and send it. But right now it's all on hold. So I'm very sorry about that. I can tell you briefly that the book, the instruction book, is extremely well written. I was very confused the first day I looked at it. And I thought, oh my goodness, how would you ever figure this out? But then when I opened up all of the fabric and I spread all the fabric out and I opened it up and I went to the first page of the first leaf, it became very clear to me what I needed to do. And there's 4 or 5 different leaves in that Scarecrow quilt. And each leaf has its complete total pages of instructions. So if I can do it, you can do it. I know you can. Now mine was a kit. So I got all the fabric with mine, which was wonderful. If you have to provide the fabric for it, then it's going to be more complicated. You know, there's a lot of different colors of fabric in that quilt. So I noticed that, what's her name? The quilt lady, Dawn, the quilt lady at the Kingfisher Quilt Shop, Kingfisher, Oklahoma Quilt Shop. It's called The Quilt Lady. She has the Scarecrow quilt hanging on the wall behind her. And I bet they'll probably have classes or block of the month or something if you want to check that out. And how can they do that without giving away the instructions? I know even when Edita Sitar shows you how to make her quilt, she says, now you'll have to get the pattern to get the measurements. So I don't know. There's got to be a way to be smarter than I am and figure out how to do this without breaking copyright laws. Okay, I'm going to go upstairs to play with my Scarecrow quilt. I'm so sorry that I can't share it with you like I have said now 10 times. But I am going to work with it some more, and if I can figure out a way on this video right here to show you what I'm doing without it being an issue with measurements or something. I don't know. I don't know how I can because I have everything labeled out the wazoo. I mean, like, I have a little stack of this shape, and it says it's piece A, and it's 1 inch by 2 inches, and I have a Post-it note on it saying that. So, if I take up all the Post-it notes, then they won't be there for me to use. There's the prettiest chime sound going on. I got a new phone, and it's probably the way my phone rings now, and I don't even know where it's at. I'll be back. Somebody asked me to tell them how I drink my tea. I'm upstairs, and I have my Keurig up here, so I use 8 ounces 2 times in a big cup. Whoa, better put it back. And I do 2 tea bags at a time because I'm going to have 16 ounces in this big cup. And the kind of tea I drink is Bigelow, I Love Lemon, and Bigelow Lemon Ginger, and Bigelow, this is what's up here, Blackberry Citrus. I have a whole bunch more flavors at my other house. So I mix the lemons with the blackberry, or I mix the lemon with the lemon. I just do 2 tea bags because I just like a big cup of whatever I'm drinking. So for whoever asked me how I make my tea, that's how I do it. And I wrap the tea bag string around the handle, and I just leave the tea bags in there. And I just drink it with the tea bags in there, because then I can come back and add more water later. Oh, no. Guess what I did now? You know the little quilt with the jars that I just showed you? I didn't finish it. It's got these little pins you put in the pin cushion, and it's got this little tape measure bow that you put on there on one of the jars. See? So I have to go down there and finish it. I'll be back. So don't do what I do. Learn from my mistakes. You see how the ribbon had one side where you could see the black marks and one where you couldn't? So I thought, well, I'll just trace over them with the black ink pen. And so now I've destroyed my ribbon. And that's all the ribbon they gave me. There isn't any more. So now I have to find a different ribbon, and thank goodness I have a few to pick from. And now I'm not going to try to draw the lines on another ribbon. Do you see that bow? That doesn't go there. It's supposed to go over there on that little jar. But I made a boo-boo there. Right there where that bow's covering up. Nobody would ever notice it if I didn't point it out to them, but I can tell it's there because I made the boo-boo. When I was trimming the plastic away, I cut the thread there a little bit. And I went back and tried to fix it, and I just could not get it perfect. So that's where my bow's going. And there's the 3 pins sticking out of the pin cushion. They actually gave me 6 pins, I think. So whoever wins the book will get 3 of them. That is how that's supposed to look. And there's my rickrack. Remember the rickrack? There it is, purple. It's cute. I just have that little yellow bow pinned on there with a straight pin. I'm going to see if I can find some of that measuring tape ribbon online before I make that permanent. And of course the pins just come in and out. Okay. Back to the Scarecrow again. I'm going to try to think backwards and explain generally how I'm making this quilt. When I got the quilt, the book was in this bag, and all of those fabrics were in this bag. So the first thing I did was I took out all the fabrics and got rid of the purse. And I put all the fabrics here in a row in front of me. There were more because I've got some cut out now. So I put all the fabrics here in front of me in a row. Then I opened up the book and I went to the first page of the first thing you're supposed to make. Now that's the way I'm doing it. On this quilt, there's all different shapes of leaves. Actually, there's 4 different kinds of leaves on this quilt. That's what I like about it, is the falling leaves. I like to make check marks and mark things with colored pencils and make circles around things and arrows and everything else. I don't want to do that in this book. So I made a copy. Now it says you're not allowed to make copies of anything, but for your own personal use. I paid for it, so I made copies for my own personal use. They'll end up in the shredder. I'm not going to give them to anybody or show them to anybody or share them with anybody. So I copied the first 3 pages, which are the instructions to the swirling leaf. There is a swirling leaf, there is a twirling leaf, there is an autumn leaf, and there is a tiny leaf. So at the top of the instruction page, very first one, it shows you what you're going to make. You're going to make those 4 leaves, and then you're going to make a certain number of each one of them. Okay? This particular one, you're only making 4 big leaves. Now, if you're not sure what you're doing and you haven't read the whole way down and you're like, well, how many of those am I going to make? Look at the quilt. It looked to me like you were only going to make 4. You look at the quilt, there's only 4 big leaves on it. So yes, we're only going to make 4 of those. Easy peasy, good way to get started. So these pages are full length. I have it folded up because the measurements are everywhere. That was a problem with the video I made you. You can't block the measurements without blocking the whole page, so I can't even show it to you. Here on these leaves, it shows you the shapes that you're going to cut alphabetically. I didn't catch that at first. But when I figured out there's an A piece, a B piece, a C piece, a D piece, a E piece, a F piece, a G piece, and an H piece in each leaf. Each leaf is just different fabrics. Same leaf, same ABCs, just different fabrics. Okay? So I pulled out, if you notice this stack here, this is what I pulled for leaf number 1. Leaf number 1. These are the ones I pulled for leaf number 2. Leaf number 2. These are the ones I pulled for leaf number 3. Leaf number 3. And over there is the stems. So, why aren't there 4 leaves in these colored fabrics? There are. The thing is, you're just going to use those 3 sets of prints and then mix them up a little different for each leaf. I hope that makes sense, because I was confused. It's what confused me the most. I thought, why are there only 3 sets of leaves there for the fabrics, and down here, I can't show you because the measurements are there, they show leaf print 1, leaf print 2, leaf print 3. So I assumed that each one was a whole leaf. It's not. It's just showing you the sets of prints you're going to pull in order to make 4 leaves. I hope that makes sense. So then I cut out the pieces I need, as much as I needed to cut out what I needed to cut out. I cut it whole. You know, if I was going to cut 6 A's, I cut a big enough piece of fabric for 6 A's. Then I took it over there on my little ironing board and I starched it and I ironed it. So I'm keeping all of these separate over here because all of these have been starched and ironed. All of these. These are all the prints left to finish the rest of the leaves and the snowman and the scarecrow. I keep saying snowman. Scarecrow and the bucket and the pumpkin and everything else. These aren't starched. They haven't been touched. They haven't been cut. So that's kind of my arrangement here. Use your dining room table, I don't know, your ironing board, your bed. The bed works really great if you don't have a big table. If you have any room in your house for a big table, I highly recommend that you get one. These tables actually fold down. This table right here folds here and it folds here. And those 2 sides go completely down. And so this table is only that long and this wide. if you're not using it open all the time like I do. Highly recommend it. Who made it? Kangaroo did. A kangaroo made it. So I cut out all my A's, my B's, my C's, my D's, and you can see my little stacks here. This is the A's. I cut them, and then I made a Post-it note, and it says A, and it says the measurement, and it says how many of them I cut. It says I cut 8 blank blank measurements, and I stick it on there. Here I have the B's, the C's, the D's, the E's, the F's, the G's, and the H's. And here I have the fabric for the stems. Okay? And I've started putting it together. Very simple. The directions are extremely clear. One thing you need to do right off to start with is make one and then measure it. And if you don't have a Quilter Select ruler, if you have 100 other rulers and they're not Quilter Select, you don't have one as good as Quilter Select, I promise you. Ah! I bought this one recently, and all of their rulers are yellow, except this one they made pink. I think it was for Breast Cancer Week or something. They made a pink one. So I really like this pink one. But if you start with a certain ruler, make your whole quilt with that same ruler, at least all the leaves. Rulers can measure differently. Now, hopefully, Quilter Select rulers are all the same as each other. I'm not sure. But the Quilter Select, and you choose a different one, I can't even think of the names of all the other ones, I have them all. They can be different. The measurements can be different. So that's very important. And I just love these rulers. So that's about all I can show you. I told you I have emailed the It's So Emma, who, it says, designed by Lori Holt to be in my bonnet, published by It's So Emma. So, I think It's So Emma's that jolly lady, but I don't know. I'll let you know if I get any feedback back. But I'm going to go ahead and make these 4 leaves today. And when I get the 4 leaves all made, then I will show them to you. And that will be the end of the first leaf. Swirling. That will be the end of swirling leaf. Then I'll go to the next part. I'll put all the swirling leaves together in a baggie, label them, and then I'll go to the twirling leaf. May take me 6 years, we don't know. But I think I can finish swirling today. I'm getting excited. These are starting to look like leaves. Yes, they are. So you can see this one is starting to look like that one right there. See? Yes, 4 of them. So that's 1, and that's 2, and this is 3, and this is 4. Easy piecing, easy piecing. I haven't had any problems, and my measurements have come out right. Now, one of the things you want to do, edit a Sitarish. I don't ever watch the Jolly Girl. I've seen her a couple times, but I know that she probably also trims to make sure everything's the right size. So then you can use your ruler and put it down and make sure these all measure. Oh my gosh, whatever I'm doing, and I've told you all this in the videos that I can't show you, but I did a test when I very first started of the very first piece, this piece right here, and it didn't measure exactly. So I have the single hole needle plate on, my Bernina 570, the single hole. And even though it has a single hole, I have the needle moved over 4 places that way. So it makes a smaller 1/4 inch seam. And so I figured out before I went to great extents, making these all wrong like I've done in the past, and I measured the first piece and found out that my seam allowance was perfect. So I'm really excited. These are coming out the exact right size. So I still have more to add on. Let's see what comes next. This goes like that. That goes like, I'm telling you, when I look at this here, I can't even tell what it's doing. These little points, these pointy things, you have to sew them so the points go in different directions. So I'll be back when I get the other points put on, okay? So now that I've got almost all of one leaf done, I figured out that what you do is you sew this square, then you sew this square, then you sew this square, and last of all you sew this square, and then you put those 4 squares together, and then you get a whole leaf. And notice there's 1, 2, 3 colors in each leaf, but they all have the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, like I told you. Awesome. I wrote that F on there because I couldn't find the F. Ta-da! It's my first leaf. My very first one. I'm so excited. It could like fall down from the sky. Now let me tell you something. This is an important tip. I want you to write it on a giant piece of paper and hang it up on your quilt. So important. I'm always so worried I'll do it, and I sure enough did it. I knew that I was supposed to move my needle 4 places to the right, correct? Well, then I got to the part where I needed my needle in the middle because I was sewing the diagonal lines and then folding it over, like the stem has 2 diagonal lines, and so I put my needle in the center. That's fine. That's where it should be. But then when you go back to the other steps where your needle doesn't need to be in the center, you have to remember to move it back over to however many places, whichever side you had it. So I'm reminding of you that. Did I say that right? I'm reminding you of that so you don't make the same mistakes I make. Oh, you have to come up with a 9.5-inch square block. And thank goodness mine might be off as 22nd of an inch or something, which is a miracle. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my other 3 leaves for this first leaf. And if you're making this quilt, you don't need me to show you how to do it. You get the idea. You just break it down into little bitty quilts, and you make this little bitty quilt, and then 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 you sew them all together. It's really quite simple. Making the Scarecrow. I'm wondering if I need to make the snowman next, but I don't know. I never like my quilts when I get done with them, you know. We shall see. Well, I don't know. It's late. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these other 3 leaves, and then I'm done with the Scarecrow for today. And we're supposed to go to our other house and go do some other errands. So it'll probably be a while before I get back. So why don't y'all start on leaf 1, and then you can start with leaf 2, and you can show me what to do. All right, I've got the first 4 leaves done. There they are. Now I can't tell you any of the measurements. But if you have any problems with any particular step, I guess I could tell you about that. Although if I can figure it out, I'm sure you can. I'm not the brightest penny in the patch, let me tell you, when it comes to quilting. So there's my 4 leaves with their 4 stems. The stem is kind of different. What you do is you take, let's just pretend like, you take a square of the brown and a littler square of the white, and you line it up down in one corner, and then you sew across the littler one. And then you trim it 1/4 inch and fold it over. Okay? So this was a piece that I sewed across, angle to angle, folded it over, cut it, just like you do the other parts of the leaves. See, here's the parts I cut off of it. See, here's how there's a brown and there's a white. And so you put the white on top of the brown. The white's a little bit smaller, can't tell you the measurements. And you sew across from corner to corner, then you trim the extra off, and then you press it one way, then you put another piece on just like it, go the other way, then you put a little piece on it and go toward the corner. So that's how we ended up with this pie in the corner. Okay? It doesn't want to stay in there so you can see it very good. All right. So I'm so sorry, as I've said, I can't show you in detail how to do it because of copyright. I've really been told recently about copyright. Get the pattern. I'm telling you, they could not write better instructions. The only thing was, the last couple of pieces that you sewed together, it didn't tell you which way to press. It tells you all the little ones, how to press, which way to make them go, but when you sew the bigger pieces together, it doesn't tell you which way to press. So you got to figure that out for yourself. But it's pretty obvious that this piece has to go opposite of this piece down here. So you do one way, one the other way, sew them together, and hope it all works out when you get the entire snowman ready. I can't wait. Hey, Joy! Bad girl, bad girl, bad girl. I have to get in timeout. You watch me. If I buy that snowman and make it, I will call it a scarecrow the whole time. I have to go. I'll be back, you know, whenever.